The man brought his parents back to their hometown for the new year, but as soon as they got out of the car, a neighbor demanded he pay 10,000 yuan for road repairs, because while the man was away, the neighbor had arbitrarily turned the shared path between their homes into a road for his son's wedding. Now seeing the man return, he eagerly proposed splitting the repair costs, but the man just let out a cold laugh. The payback he had waited 30 years for had finally arrived. Actually, the man's family and the Zhangs had been neighbors for decades. 30 years ago, when the village allocated homestead plots, their lands were adjacent with no passage left in between. The man's grandfather took the initiative to negotiate with the Zhangs, proposing each family give up 2 meters of land to create a 4-meter wide road. The Zhangs patted their chests and agreed at the time, but once the houses were built, they only gave up 1 meter. The man's grandfather went to confront the Zhangs. Unexpectedly, the Zhangs went back on their word, stubborn and seeking justice. He wore himself out running between the village and town authorities, but the result was always the same. The Zhangs' actions were a moral issue, not illegal. This bitter resentment festered in the man's grandfather for 30 years, until on his deathbed he still muttered about it. 30 years later, the Zhang's grandson was about to marry. To show off, the Zhangs decided to renovate their old house into a 2-story villa. This should have been a good thing, but unexpectedly, while laying the foundation, they extended outward another meter. As a result, the original 3-meter wide road was now only 2 meters, and those 2 meters entirely belonged to the man's family. On the day construction started, the man and his parents kindly went to negotiate with the Zhangs, but the Zhangs just mocked the man for meddling, saying their own land was theirs to build on as they pleased. Besides, wasn't the remaining 2-meter road enough for the man's family? The man's father couldn't swallow this insult, and immediately wanted to block the road with bricks. Unexpectedly relying on their younger son being a lawyer in the city, the Zhangs directly used the law to intimidate his father, saying legally the only passage between neighbors could not be privately occupied. They insisted on using that road no matter what, and dared the man to do anything about it. Seeing his father about to fight the Zhangs, the man quickly stopped him. Since the Zhangs were unreasonable, they might as well find someone who could enforce reason. The man then called both the village committee and the management team, but the result was the same as 30 years ago. The Zhangs had broken no laws or regulations, so the management team couldn't help. Just as the whole village prepared to laugh at the man's family, little did they know the man was waiting for exactly that statement. Now all procedures were exhausted. He had no further concerns. Back home, the man comforted his parents not to worry. All they had to do now was wait patiently. This time he would fight not just for those 2 meters of road, but for the dignity his family had lost for 30 years. Without the man interfering, the Zhangs soon began construction in full swing. They piled all building materials right in the middle of the road, and the noise went on from morning till night. Half a year later, the Zhangs' new house was completed. In front of all the villagers, the Zhangs loudly asked why the man's family hadn't come. After so many years as neighbors, they showed no face at all. The villagers, who feared the strong and bullied the weak, to please the Zhangs, all mocked the man's family as cowards. Even if the man went to university, what good was it? In the end, they were still under the Zhangs' thumb. Inside the house, the mother heard this and wiped away angry tears, unable to bear seeing his parents stay in the village seething. The man took them to live in his city apartment. Another 2 months passed in a flash. The long silent man finally took action, because in 1 week the